Hey, it's Bran. Today I'm sculpting Usagi, aka Serina, aka Sailor Moon, in Blender 3.5. I've seen plenty of sculpts and drawings of her in her sailor outfit, so I'm going to go for a casual look with this sculpt. If you're not interested in the sculpting process breakdown and just want to see how the render turned out, here she is. I decided to go with some high-waisted jeans, which seems to fit the 80s, 90s vibe, along with a woven cotton shirt and a socks and flip-flops combo to make it super casual. Anywho, stick around if you're interested in seeing how this sculpt came together. So I saved a ton of time by not starting from scratch and instead started with a base mesh. The base mesh that I'm using in this one was made during the Zelda Sculpt tutorial series a couple of months ago. If you didn't follow along and make one yourself from those videos, you can get the one that I made from my Gumroad for free. The cool thing about using the base mesh that we made ourselves is that we also rigged it. So that makes changing proportions easier by moving and scaling the rig controllers until they get close to the new reference that I'm using. After I get things as close as I can, I apply the armature modifier and finish up in sculpt mode with the move brush to get the model to match the reference. The ref isn't something I'm gonna strictly stick to. I just sketched it out to help me get close to the proportions that I wanted. So I decided to start with the hair, and I'm using a UV sphere with a mirror modifier to create the main hair with the part in the middle. I'm making sure to rotate the sphere so that the pole ends up where her hair buns will be placed. The hair material that I'll use later on will travel up those loops to the poles, making it look like her hair is pulling the right way. More UV spheres for her meatballs, making sure to place the pole where it can't be seen from the front. For her bangs, I added a curved circle and subdivided it to get a few more control points, then made it into an oval shape with some sharp bits added in. Then I added a curved path and chose the oval shape as the bevel reference, which creates my hair strand shape. I use this shape over and over again to create her bangs, using Alt-S to scale down points and Control-T to twist them. I added a curved rectangle and rounded it out to use as another reference for smaller detail hair strands. To make her twin tails, I started off by creating the bevel reference with a new circle, then added a couple more circles in while still in edit mode. After I added in a curve path, I placed it underneath the hair bun and gave it a twist. The end curls were made separately by adding in a curved spiral and using the same bevel reference as the twin tails. The high-waisted mom jeans were made from geometry I duplicated from the base mesh. Not much editing here, just duplication, adding a solidify modifier, and maybe a bit of scaling on some parts. The shirt isn't that much different. I selected the geometry I needed from the base mesh, duplicated and added a solidify modifier. I also scaled and sculpted on the openings of the sleeves to puff them out a bit. I wanted the shirt to look tucked in the front, so I scaled and sculpted on that a bit too. It was around this time I wanted to start adding in some colors. For the eyes, tinyeye has a free eye model and material called tinyeye. This has recently become my go-to when adding in the eyes. You can control the colors and the shading in the material options, and you can change the shape and the size underneath the eyes shape keys. There's a lot of options and it's super easy to just drop into your sculpt. So if you're looking for something like this, you can get it from tinyye's Gumroad for free. The skin shader is just the usual ambient occlusion into a color ramp with a pinch of subsurface scattering, and the shirt and jeans and the hair is just the default materials with only the hair colors changed for now. Now I'm back at the hair, adding in details using that rectangle curve as the bevel reference again. I added a few curved circles to her meatballs and a few strands at her neckline. I also added a bunch of strands along the top of the head to keep it from looking too uniform. I lifted the hair material from the Zelda sculpt we did a few months ago by adding a UV sphere and adding the materials I wanted to it. Then copied the UV sphere over to the instance of Blender with the Usagi sculpt in it. Now we can just select the material on the hair in the materials drop down. The material for the jeans is from Blender Kit. It's an add-on that lets you browse and use free materials from the Blender Kit website. Anyways, I've used this mat before and really liked it because it has this jeans seam in the middle of it. To take advantage of this, I unwrapped the jeans mesh in 4 different pieces with the seams on the inside and the outside of the legs. Then arranged the mesh in the UV editor to where the edge would catch the seam of the jeans. It was the same idea with the rolled up parts of the pant legs. I also duplicated the material so that I could lighten the color and make it seem like the legs were rolled up from the inside out. The rest of the details for the jeans, like the pockets and the fly, were also done by placing UVs along the seams. I found a nice braided woven cotton material on BlenderKit to use for the shirt. I marked seams along the sides and unwrapped it into 2 parts, the front and back, then rotated it in the UV editor to get the woven braids to run up and down. Then I adjusted some of the verts so that the patterns matched up a little better along the seams. In order to paint the face, I needed to unwrap at least the head to get some UVs. I added a mix node after the color ramp in my skin material, then hooked an image node and created a new image to paint on. In texture paint mode, I changed the fall off of my brush to be something that's very soft and picked a pink color and painted in the blush. I also wanted to give her freckles, but didn't want to mess up the blush, so I plugged another mix node in along with another new image. I chose an orange color and a small brush and started placing a few dots on the face. After I got a little section filled out, I switched over to the clone brush and just went to town with that. Then I finished up by placing a few big freckles here and there. I regenerated the rig and parented all of the parts of the sculpt to it with automatic weights, except for the eyes, hair, and the eyebrows. Those were parented directly to the head bone. Using the rig handles, I got her into sort of a walking pose. I was able to pose the twin tails with a curve modifier and a path, and the eyes have their origins in the center of themselves, so I can just select them both and rotate them at the same time by choosing individual origins as the transform pivot point. Once everything is close enough, we can do some fine tuning with the move brush in sculpt mode. And if I need any more extra details, I add a multi-resolution modifier and go into sculpt mode and sculpt in some creases. And to finish it all off, I made a quick backdrop, dumped in a few lights, and hit render. And here she is again. If you'd like to tinker around with this sculpt, the blend file is up for free on my Gumroad. Repose it or use it as a base or whatever you want. If you're interested in making your own 3D sculpts, I made a 10-part 3D sculpting series that goes over my entire process to make sculpts just like this one that you just watched. And if you're curious on how to find any of the things that I talked about today, all of the links are in the video description below. Hope you guys are having a good day, and I'll see you soon. Alright, bye.